Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live episode. We have today a special guest, which is a special moment for us because it's the CEO and founder of Punchlist, Pete. Hi, Pete. How are you?
Hello, how are you? How is everyone?
All good. And then we have Florencia as well. How are you, Florencia?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you.
Awesome. So, well, maybe you know if you're already following the EA Live before. We've been doing live streaming of the new website of Punchlist that we will deep dive more, and Pete will talk more about what is the tool. But this essentially allow users to collect feedback for any kind of design projects, website, PDF, images, and more. So yeah, and today we're going to talk more about not only Punchlist but also Pete and learn more about his journey. He started like a solo entrepreneur and until now. So first, Pete, we would like to know more about you and your background, what you did before Punchlist. Do you want to talk
Hmm.
a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Punchlist has had a very interesting journey, but before that, kind of what built up to Punchlist is I spent about 20 years working in agencies, so building websites, web applications, working as solo and sometimes as a team. But it was always kind of that client agency relationship that I was part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked in design capacity, UX, and even project management.
Mm-hmm.
And that history, that backstory is kind of what led me to want to build Punchlist. It
Okay.
was regardless of what team I was on or whether I was working by myself or with a large corporation,
Mm-hmm.
getting feedback for your work, getting the project done was always a really difficult part of any project.
Yeah.
It really ruined relationships sometimes, and little things would slip through the cracks. And the people you were working with, the stakeholders, it was really hard for them to understand how to give
Mm-hmm.
good feedback. And so I wanted to solve that. I wanted to build something, but I didn't know how to write software.
Yeah.
So I taught myself how to write software, and that led to kind of like the early versions of Punchlist.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, as entrepreneur, normally someone that has this whole of his strengths, like have his own product tools. Punchlick was your first project, or do you have like another experience before as entrepreneur?
Um, First, it was the first one I really um, dedicated everything towards.
Okay.
I had started little. I had always done projects on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they were um, things that I thought would ever be my business. But even through high school, I used to sell. I'm a little bit older, but I used to sell CDs to other kids in my
Yeah.
class. Like they would make tapes before Spotify, before before streaming.
Yeah,
You'd have to make a kind of like a mixtape of
absolutely.
songs, and so I had a catalog of thousands of songs. Is all illegal, by the way. Um,
What was
and
the first Spotify?
yeah, so I made a little bit of money doing that until a friend's father told me how illegal it was and how like services were getting in trouble,
You're
so we
gonna get in
stopped doing
trouble,
that.
yeah.
But my family's entrepreneurial. My mother used to for 50 years cut hair, and she had her own shop.
Okay.
And my uncle has a restaurant in Rome, and they've had that for 45 years. So it's kind of being entrepreneurial was always something that I was around.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was never something where I was extremely passionate about doing something that I wanted to kind of go out and really try to do it on my own
Yeah,
until Punchlist.
that's awesome. That's
That's
awesome.
the project like you really put your heart on. And for those who are wondering, so what is punch list? What we gave the like our description of it, but you probably have a different one.
Felix did a
What's for
good job.
you?
I mean, so Punchlist is this layer over your creative work. As Felix mentioned, it could be a PDF, a live website, PowerPoint presentation, images. And as an agency like Edgar Allan, if you're working with a customer, you need that customer to tell you kind of if everything's perfect or what's missing. And it used to be that you would send a website out and then they could respond by email, or maybe you had a Zoom call, or maybe they would put together a Google Sheet or print it out and put it in a PDF. All these different ways that your client could tell you what's left to be done. And so with Punchlist, you can share the one URL and they can go through the live website and they can mark at it and point at exactly what they think is wrong, or maybe they upload files and tell you, let's use this image instead of the one you have now. And it allows you to have that centralized place. So if there's many people on the customer side, they could all look at the one piece of feedback, and it removes the pressure from you to have to organize everyone and to get everyone on the same page. Mm-hmm. So Punchlist is, yep, go ahead.
No, I was saying that essentially it's what we do here in the agency. Probably Florencia can talk more about how we handle with all the process with the client and get the feedback. This is really important. It's the way that we have, for example, me and developer, to get all this feedback from the client and make it clear, okay, those are all the things that we need to be done, instead of emails or Slack. So you have a place where you can find all these changes that need to be done. It's really useful tool for that. So, and also I think help a lot the project managers, Florencia.
Absolutely. I mean, project manager use it a lot, especially because well, it's communication. It's it's like having the entire comments and marks up and everything in one place, and so we can all like be on the same page, literally. And so especially now that with so many companies and with different time zones, or even countries, or a lot of distance, this kind of tools brings all the teams together, just like clients and also
workers,
internal.
Exactly. Like I think for us, what I saw is that when you're working within a design team, getting feedback is pretty simple, right? You can send the Figma file, or everyone understands how that works. But the second you try to go outside of your team, the second you go to a client or your boss or a stakeholder, then you go down to email. And so we're, for us, when we think about who we're competing against, it's often email, because you move to the lowest common denominator, the easiest thing for everyone to do. And what ends up happening is you create a lot more work. So whether it's because of time zones, you're trying to figure out what time everyone could be on to review the site, or whether it's trying to understand what they meant. So for us, it's, can we add that layer to where we make all the feedback better, reduce any confusion or conflict, but then also allow people to approach it on their own time, right? So if you're in the United Kingdom and you want to review the project, you can do that whenever you want. And the team that maybe is in the United States can get all that feedback the next morning, and it can keep projects moving more seamlessly and effortlessly.
Yeah, you can track all the things, like, okay, this is not done, this is what is missing, and you have all in one screen. And so you mentioned that you've been working in agencies and your background. Like, what motivated you to make Punchlist? Like, you were working there, just like, okay, there's a lack of communication up here. What was the thing that motivated you to start Punchlist?
I think the most important thing was that I wanted it for myself. And so for me, and I mean that in two different ways. One is I wanted to solve the problem. I had seen it wherever I worked on whatever project. It felt like this problem, for project managers especially, they were pretty helpless, because they were so reliant on on the end person to do things the way they needed it done. And so it added a lot of frustration. But the second thing was I wanted it for myself. Right? I wanted to see if I could build this thing. I wanted to see if I can build a business. And so for me, it was that combination that became very important. One, that I saw the problem, and then two, my internal motivation, my internal drive was there to see if I could do it.
Yeah, and then in terms of challenge, what was the most difficult challenge for you? Like, because I mean, you're a solopreneur. It's hard to manage all the aspect of a business, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you had the idea, but now you have to like make it.
Yeah. The many challenges, and even, you know, I think that's the life of an entrepreneur is that everything's a challenge, right? And everything's about how you approach it and how you know, work through it, not around it. And so for me, the initial challenge was, honestly, could I even build this thing? And so, you know, that was the first thing. So I broke the way I approached it was, most times I would approach a project where I would try to do a little bit of the project everywhere. So 80% of the project. And so with Punchlist, I was like, I'm actually going to write out kind of all the little things I think need to happen. And maybe they're about an hour each. And then every night I would have two screens. One screen where I'd watch someone do something in the language we're using. And in the other screen, it would be me trying. And what ended up happening is, most nights I went to bed feeling like I accomplished something. And it was because I had broken up the project that way. It allowed me to keep going and build motivation and build a habit towards solving the problem. And so the first version, the first challenge was seeing if I could do it. And then I got to a point where I was showing people like Mason Poe and other people in the community kind of what I had built. And if they thought it was worth, like, if there was something there. And so it was then getting other people to embrace it and try it. And that really was the first phase of Punchlist. It was a side project. It was a passion project for me. Last year was a year of Punchlist transitioning. So, you know, really in 2020, it was still it was a big side project. In 21, I brought on a co-founder, Nick, who's my partner, who's from Argentina. And then we did Techstars, and then we raised a fund, and then we at the beginning of this year we hired a team. So it's really transitioned from this side project to a big side project to now it's
a business,
full-fledged. Yeah, it's a full-fledged startup. It's a full-fledged business.
That's awesome. So yeah, you want to continue, Francia?
Yes. You said you were like building it yourself. So let's talk about the technology. What is Punchlist stack, or what technology did you use at first, or if it changed since you said now you have a team? How that transition go from, you know, little projects to like a startup?
I got lucky with the stack I picked. So I had written PHP code previously. And so there was a really good community around a framework called Laravel. And Laravel is a PHP framework, and it allows you to kind of build applications, leveraging kind of the base PHP. And so I picked Laravel and Vue because there was a community called Laracasts, where I could, as I said, I could watch someone write Laravel code, and then I could, in my code editor, try to copy them and try to like fit it towards what I was doing. And that has, you know, 3-4 years ago is when that started rolling. And we are now just replacing some of the code I wrote 3 or 4 years ago. And we're just rewriting it kind of in the latest Laravel and Vue. So Laravel and Vue is what we use. Eventually we transition to using Amazon Web Services for kind of hosting everything. But there's tens of thousands of people using Punchlist on code that I wrote 4 years ago, not knowing what I was doing, just trying to get lucky and trying to write something based on how I was watching someone else write it. So in terms of the team, I think, I think with it moving from a side project to kind of something more, it's now become more professionalized, right? So there's now testing involved, and there's now like code testing involved, and there's a team of people that make decisions about how we approach something or how we build it, or best practices to handle the scale we're currently at. So I think for me, from where we started to where we are now, the biggest transition is just can we write things in a way that as we add more people to the team, or as the product scales, can we handle it? And that could be in any different framework. It could be a Ruby on Rails application, it could be a no-code application, or it could be in something like Laravel and Vue, like I built.
Yeah, and also, well, the old site is made in WordPress. You're transitioning now to Webflow as well, to a no-code tool. It's another a different stack, no?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's a matter of kind of understanding what's the best fit for us at any different moment, and transitioning from WordPress to now Webflow feels like a good opportunity for us to embrace that for our marketing site.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that was this size project, and you start sharing with the people in the community, like Mason, and see this something that could be worth it to start like a business. I guess whenever you start promoting Punchlist, what was the way that you did? Because at the end of the day, start like from zero to to expand to like grow a business. How you start promoting the tool?
I mean, honestly, Mason was one of my first customers because I asked him, and I just emailed, and I emailed a bunch of my contacts, and I told them generally what I was trying to solve, and I showed them what I had built, and I did that for a couple different reasons. One is I wanted to see if there was any interest on the other side, and if they would start leveraging it. And then obviously I wanted to start building my customer base. So I think initially for many startups, it's a lot of things that just, aren't set it and forget it. It's, emailing, leveraging your network, trying to build a good product that gets people excited, establishing kind of what the pain point is that they see. But as soon as I could get outside of my network and start to understand, if it was a wider problem, it was because we were doing ads and writing blog posts and hearing other people refer as much as possible. So I don't think there's any one tactic that I could point to that says like this is the silver bullet for us. Initially, it was just talking to people and showing it to them, and Punchlist is very visual, so for us, being able to demo and show people kind of how it would help solve their problems was the best way for us to grow.
Absolutely. So like there is not a best option for that, but if you will start from the beginning in your experience, what advice can give to another founder that is starting promoting his or her digital product?
I think the transition, it's a good question. I think the transition from side project to startup was really hard, especially for me, most importantly for me. So I think if you know what you want, if you want it to be a side project, or if you want it to be a startup, kind of start there, and really try to position your life, position your career in a way that best aligns with that. I think moving from, a product of one to a team and having raised money and having to do all that, it's a hard transition to make. It's hard for you as the founder to not want to just have everything up here, because that's what I was used to for a long time. It was just everything was up here. Like the roadmap was up there, and whatever I wanted to build that day is what we did. But now having a team and having people kind of all over the United States and a larger team kind of globally, it becomes a lot harder to run the company that way, especially because you want them to run without you being in meetings or calls or understanding where they're at. So go ahead.
Yeah, when you started like going from solo to building a team, were you thinking like already that you wanted to be like a worldwide kind of team, international team? Did you had that idea from the start, or that was something that came up as you were building the team?
I would be lying to say it was my initial gut to be kind of remote and asynchronous for the team, because in my head, part of this journey was that we were going to have an office and it was going to be fun and we were all going to be there together. But at some point last year when we were raising money and as we were thinking about kind of what is actually the future of the business and what makes the most sense, it seemed silly and stupid, to be honest, that we would build anything other than a remote asynchronous team, because that's who the product is for. Ultimately we're building Punchlist for that type of organization that has a team that is all over the world and a team that's in different time zones. And so for us, it seemed, for Nick and I, it seemed weird that we would have to say like, no, this product is built by a team that's in the same office, as opposed to a team that is actually more of a reflection of how the rest of the global economy is moving.
Yeah. So where are you guys located in Atlanta, and what else? Where's the?
So it's just Nick and I in Atlanta, and then we have team members in North Carolina, New York, Pittsburgh, and then we have a wider team, some members in Australia, Europe, South America.
Wow.
So we're really all over the place. And sometimes that means that, I have to get on a call late at night when we do have calls, but ideally it means that we can leverage the tool we've built to get feedback on designs, to get feedback on kind of website pages we're doing or product updates, and not have to have everyone on the same Zoom call or on the same board.
Absolutely. So I would like to go to the dev a little more of the product of Punchlist. Can you talk us about cool integration or integration that you can make with Punchlist and other apps or tools? That's
integrations are funny. Integrations is this thing that when we show it how it works in a demo, most project managers light up because it covers a bunch of things for them. So for us, integrations, we have integrations with Slack, but more importantly, we have integrations with project management boards like ClickUp and Asana, Trello, GitHub. We have a bunch of them. And so what it allows you to do is you can create a Punchlist project. So if you're building a new website, you would create a Punchlist project for that website, share the URL with your customer or your team, and then they could annotate directly where they see issues. But the nice thing is, as soon as they give that feedback, it can be in your project management board like ClickUp or GitHub. And so instead of you having to have the Zoom call to gather the feedback, you having to retype everything, you could just send the URL to your customer, and they can add the feedback directly as they see what needs to be done. And then that can hit your board. But then the feedback also comes with a lot more details than you're used to getting. So it comes with a screenshot. It comes with what browser they were in, what screen size they were at, a link back to the page to show you what they were looking at. And so it allows your client to give feedback in a very natural way, point and click. But then the feedback comes in very rich. It comes in with all the details that you normally would have to ask.
Yeah.
I used to talk about like these 7 silly questions you have to ask your customer, like what page were you on, where were you looking, what screen size were you at, what browser were you in, could you add that to our board? And now Punchlist tries to do all those things for you.
Yeah, and not also integration, but also automation. I think Florencia is so happy for having this click app integration that you don't have to do anything and just assign to the person. I think it's the integration that you make is through Zapier, or there is another tool that you recommend to use if, with Punchlist.
So we're working on a Zapier integration, but we have integrations with Slack, GitHub, ClickUp, Trello, Asana. If you go to punchlist.com/integrations, you could read about all the integrations we have. And we're always working on new ones. We just launched a Monday.com integration. But integrations and kind of personalization and allowing you to tweak Punchlist to kind of how your organization, your agency, your team works is kind of what our roadmap is. We really want to get it to where you can make it your own platform for what you need at the time. So whether it's getting content feedback or, sending it to a bunch of people you don't know and getting anonymous feedback, we really want to adjust Punchlist to fit kind of any use case.
Yeah.
Talking about use case, what kind of teams or customers usually use Punchlist?
The vast majority, probably over 65%, are marketing teams and agencies. So similar to Edgar Allan or marketing teams within a large company. And they're using it for the way Edgar Allan would. You're building a new website for your customer. Larger marketing departments, they're reviewing landing pages, new pages of their website, and the stakeholders might be in a different country or a different city. But then there's a bunch of users on Punchlist that use it for all different use cases. So we have a lot of architects, landscape architects. We have a bunch of students using Punchlist, and they're using it as opposed to printing a PDF and writing on it. They're loading it into Punchlist. And they're working with their colleagues, their other students, other team members of a construction company to gather feedback on the thing that they're all looking at, right? So that's the nice thing about Punchlist is we talk about it being a layer over your work. Your work doesn't have to be a website or a new brand. It could be a floor plan of a new restaurant. It could be kind of a picture, and you need to get some people to collaborate with you on who's in the photo. So we've had all different kinds of use cases, and that's the neat thing for me, having built it, is just seeing all the cool ways people are using it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like any kind of project that you have, not only website, because we focus on the website, but doesn't have to be a website. Like as you said, it's like students, they can share PDF and have feedback, or can be for any kind of industry, actually. So I have a question that I'm always curious about. It's not related with the product, but it's like about the pricing of the digital products. How do you guys like determine pricing when it's a digital product? Like, you have any path or something that, or someone that needs to create a new product, digital product, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, I feel mixed on this question just in general, because I think pricing is something that's just very hard to nail at one specific time. And sometimes you have to work your product up to your price. I think a lot of people feel like pricing should be pretty straightforward and easy. I think for the customer, it should be. Like it should be pretty easy to understand why it's priced at different levels. I think for a team building a product, sometimes you just have to, keep working on the product till it finds its right fit. People talk about product market fit all the time, and I think that's a combination of the price and the market kind of finding alignment. For me, early on, it was very simple. I charged per year, and it was basically unlimited use. And I just really wanted pricing not to be a thought in the people's heads that were buying it. But I wanted them to pay, right? I wanted them to show me that it was worth paying for them. As I think through pricing now, I'm thinking more about what our roadmap is and where we're going directional, and less about whether it's been dialed in just right. I don't think we're at a point right now where we need to worry about, every single optimized dollar. I'm more worried about for the majority of people that are using Punchlist, does the price make sense? Do they find value at, $100 or at $9, depending on where you land? Is there value there? And if not, what do we need to adjust in the product so that it feels like it's a no-brainer? To me, that's how I want pricing to feel to anyone using Punchlist, is that it felt like a no-brainer. It felt like a deal. Especially for digital projects, like you're right, there isn't a lot of cost associated with the actual individual usage of the product. So I want the price to feel like it's a no-brainer to the end user. And that's the best, in my head, source of marketing, for the product, is someone feels like I have to refer this to other people because it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I asked you because there are many people from the community that ask us, hey, how I price not a product, but at the end of the day, for example, as an agency or a freelance, you're selling a product as well. So if people struggle with the pricing thing, and I think it's really important to hear another founders to see how they did.
I think you should think less about pricing in terms of, I think a lot of people look at pricing as, I'm gonna look at my feature set and I'm gonna kind of like put my price based on that. I think the better thing to think through, at least initially, is what value am I bringing to the end user? How much money am I saving them? How much money am I going to help them make? What's the alternative to using our product? And then work your pricing that way. And yes, you're going to still have to figure out your features to make the most sense to them. But I think it's less about, a SaaS product should be $9 a month or $20 a month or $6 a seat. And it's more about like, what value are they going to get from using this thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have been talking a lot about the product. So for those who have been watching until now, we have a little announcement, a little surprise, that we will be using, if you use this promo code, you will get 1 month free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Feel free to sign up. There's a 14-day trial. And if you like Punchlist and you've been watching this, feel free to use the promo code Edgar Allan and you'll get a month free on the product. And feel free to share that with whomever you want.
Yeah, awesome. So as a last question, Pete, what is next for Punchlist? What we can expect from the product? Any updates or anything that you want to share?
Yeah, lots of updates. So for us, I mentioned it earlier, our big roadmap and as we think through it is really about allowing you, the customer, to adjust Punchlist to whatever fits your use case, and also make it your platform. So having your own branding there, having it represent your organization is key to kind of how we're seeing the product being used and kind of what our customers want. But then on top of that, allowing you to adjust the features based on kind of what you need per project, right? So some projects you might want video feedback, and some projects you might not want video feedback. Some projects you might want customers to be able to add pages, and some projects it doesn't make sense for that. So really dialing in kind of the features, the look, everything that best fits your organization is kind of what's on our near-term roadmap. There's a lot of other things like integrations and neat little tweaks that we have coming, but the big one is just allowing customers to make it their own personal platform for getting client feedback.
There is anywhere that the user can, or anybody can check the roadmap, or you have on the website?
We don't have a public roadmap, but if you go to punchlist.com and in the footer, you can see our change log and all the features we're adding.
Okay.
If you reach out to us through support. We have a private Slack group where we're happy to add power users, and in there we talk more about roadmap and we show new features as we're working on them with that group of people.
That's awesome.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, looking forward to see the new updates hopefully soon.
Yes.
So we will make sure to share here in the community as well. So
Awesome.
thank you, Pete, for your time. It was
Awesome.
really
Thank you.
useful, and we learn more about Punchlist. For anybody that want to know more about Punchlist, this is the URL. Definitely check out, because it's a really amazing tool that you can share with your clients or colleagues to get feedback for the projects. And you can make, as we said, integrations with pretty much all the main apps out there of team managing and things.
Yep.
I don't know, Florence, do you have any other thoughts or anything else?
Well, we have the last part of the building.
Yes.
The live building.
Excited next time you go to punchlist.com and be on Webflow.
Yeah, we need to transfer the website to Webflow.
Yes, for sure.
So for those who missed, you can watch the previous episodes where we started building Felix did. I was just there observing, but he did the hard work. And so for those who want to watch the first parts, are there in the link. And next week, I think we'll do the last part.
Yeah, we will continue and finish the project, and then we will transfer to Webflow. So thank you for watching us, and if you want to join, please subscribe, hit the like button, because it helps us a lot with the YouTube algorithm to share the content with other people. And thank you, Pete, for the interview and for your time today.
Same to y'all. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys. Bye.
Bye.